Right, we're talking about the new Premier League season. Obviously, Arsenal and Man City were the only two sides last season to go head-to-head to try and win the Premier League title. And I'm joined by a very special guest, Lee Judges. First time on the channel, mate. Good to see you. How are you doing?
Oh, I am good, thanks. And what an honour it is to be on your channel, So I'm looking forward to it. I'm all good. You good?
I'm not too bad, mate. I watched Gareth Southgate's England for 4 weeks during the Euros, so I've just recovered. I've got a question for you. Have you recovered from the title running? It must have been so disappointing. Obviously, as an Arsenal fan, of course, all banter aside, you must be very proud of where the side are, where you were 4 years ago. But to come second in back-to-back seasons, are you a little bit deflated by that?
No, I'm not deflated, buoyant by it. But listen, it was hurtful last year. I'm not going to lie. We were so close to winning it last game of the season. To go on a run like we did from January to May, like dropping 5 points, normally under normal circumstances, that's going to win you a league. But Man City only dropped 2 points in that run in, and that was against us. So credit where credit's due. Every time you just thought, well, maybe City might drop a point here or whatever. They didn't. And so you have to just hold your hands up and say, look, it was so close. But that last game of the season, knowing we was close, but do you know what? Close, but too far away, Buvey. We was never really in it. We knew that you was not going to drop points against Man City. Against West Ham. So it was a difficult one to take. But I have to say, I'm still, what's the word? I'm looking forward to the season again, even though it could end the same sort of way. I'd rather be in it than not. And that's how I feel about it, So,
Yeah.
It's going to be I think it's out of us and you again, us and you without a doubt. But just hopefully we get over the line this time,
So you're a bit more optimistic about it. I think there are some Arsenal fans that are there's a lot of pressure on Arteta this season that he has to win at least something, maybe the FA Cup. I think the Champions League is a little bit out of the question. But before we talk about the transfers you've made, only a couple obviously come in, and Emil Smith-Rowe's left, a sort of big name for Arsenal to sell on from the academy. Is the squad? Do you think the squad's optimistic? Do you think the squad can rise to the challenge, or do you think you're not worried about the squad kind of being deflated, like a lot of Arsenal fans obviously are?
I think that's a great question. I think have we got a team to win the league? Yes. Have we got a squad to win the league? Not quite. I think what we've got to strengthen in the next couple of weeks. I think the difference between Arsenal, Manchester City, and other teams at this moment in time, I think Arsenal need to do business. Not probably Manchester City. You'd probably say you could do with one or two, but we're not desperate. You know what I mean? If the season starts, which it will do at the weekend, Arsenal and Manchester City are still very, very good and strong teams. So I do think we need to strengthen the squad. I do think we need that different option up front, just something a little bit different. But as far as the team's concerned, I think it's good enough. But yeah, I think we're just a little bit light in certain areas, unless you don't have any injuries. But Thomas Partey, is going to get injured. There's always one or two that are going to get injured. So you can't rely on that. So Saliba played every game last season along with Declan Rice. Declan Rice started every game. You think about that. Buvey has got to play internationals on top of that, plus another 4 Champions League games. You've got to have a strong squad. And I think that's where I look at Man City, and at this moment in time, you've still got the advantage over us. And so hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll do some business.
You talked about the strikers. I've been saying to a lot of people that you still lack that striker, and then a lot of football fans come back to me and say, well, you scored more goals than you've ever scored in a Premier League campaign, even more than the Invincible season, I think it was. But in the Invincible season, you had Thierry Henry, who I know he didn't score in a cup final for Arsenal or anything like that, but he scored in so many big Premier League games to get you across the line to win in the Premier League. So you're thinking, have you got anyone coming in, or do you want someone to come in that has that kind of Haaland effect? What Nunes was going to be for Liverpool, for example, obviously what Salah was. Do you still think you need that kind of that forward to guarantee you 20 goals, but importantly, score goals against Man City? The 0-0 was crying out for a world-class forward to take you over the line.
Yeah, listen, stats sometimes can lie, as you well know. Like sometimes it's on the eye. Games where I think, you look back at Aston Villa last season. Let's go to the Man City game as well. Not a lot in the game. Arsenal had a couple of chances, one right at the death, like if the right option was made. But if you score that goal, you come away. Do you remember like a few years back when we were playing Man United? Same sort of scenario, beaten 1-0, over miles scored. You go on and win the league from then. I don't think it was a missed opportunity against Man City, but there was opportunities in that game to just probably nick the goal, and then that would have took us over the line. It's those sort of games, Buvey, like just Bayern Munich last season. Uh, didn't do enough to win the game. There were certain games like Aston Villa when we should have been 2 or 3-0 up before they scored. Just those little games that don't show you all the statistics and everything like that, because when you're beating a team like West Ham 6-0, Sheffield United 6-0, the game's over at 2-3-0. It's those games which are tight, 0-0, 1-0. Even if you just, like, I don't know, just picking up Aston Villa away last season, 1-0 down. If we nicked a draw out of that, it just, those little games, just those little percentages, fine margins, as you well know in football, like, and I just think with Haaland, it gives you also that little fear factor in your team. Whether he's playing well or not, you just think like, oh, you've got to be on your game today. You can't slack off for a couple of minutes. I think against Arsenal at times, you could maybe just slack off a little bit and get away with it. Against Man City, you slack off, he scores. So I think that just that killer. Listen, Havertz is a wonderful player. So is Jesus, as you well know, is a wonderful player. What's their weakness? Finishing. Just go someone different to them two. Just someone that's
Who
just
have you been linked to? Who's a feasible transfer? Who have you been linked to, even as a rumour that's feasible? That
we haven't been really linked with anybody, if I'll be honest. There isn't really one that stands out. An Ivan Toney maybe is one that you could look at. If you look at Ivan Toney, go, well, he's not. He's better than Eddie. He's something different to come on. Yeah. Osman's been mentioned. I'm not 100% sure of that. Like a lot of money, but sometimes when you're going for the title, you're playing against someone like Manchester City, as we know, as good as you are. Sometimes you just got to break the bank a little bit. Just go out your comfort zone a little bit. We did it with Declan Rice last season. Look at the impact that he's had. But like, he's a midfield player. That they win your champion. What we need now is someone that's going to win games.
Yeah.
Maybe when you're not playing well, you know what I mean. All of a sudden you come. You must know this with Haaland. You think, well, we didn't play well today, but you've won 3-0. Yeah, and he hasn't hardly touched the ball.
Yeah.
Just that little, but listen, that's what we had that with Henry at times, don't get me wrong. And more so probably with Ian Wright when we was more of a cup team and everything like that. We was always in games because you've got that sort of, that killer, that one that's going to nick you goals. And I don't think Arsenal have quite got, we've got to play all this intricate football and everything like that. And I feel that if we play well, Arsenal will probably win. But if Arsenal play bad, I don't necessarily guarantee you're going to win, and that's what you need. Sometimes you need to play, well, how have we won that game? Well, it's because we had Haaland playing.
A bit like Van Persie at Man United. Obviously, not to bring that up as an Arsenal
thanks for bringing it up. But the same sort of, that's very nice.
But they weren't good, mate. 2013 Man United. You have to be good to win the league, but on some level, they were an old side at the back end of their time. The next season they were rubbish with David Moyes, and it was Van Persie that made the difference. And I do think you need to be ambitious, because the big thing that Arsenal fans don't talk about, and maybe it's because you're a big club and you've followed the club for so many years and you've rarely seen this, but eventually these players will be looking to leave themselves. It's not a guarantee that Saliba stays past at the end of next season. That's not a guarantee. So you've got to strike while the iron's hot. And that's why I'm not critical of every Arsenal fan I talk to, but so many Arsenal fans don't expect more from maybe the board, maybe from Arteta, to demand a little bit more. You said about Declan Rice. That was ambitious. I think you're spot on about that. But now, if you're a big club, you go again. Look at Chelsea under Mourinho with Abramovich. How many transfers they kept making until they got it right. I'm not saying you have to be ridiculous with the money and stuff like that, but there's definitely money there to do 65, 70 million pounds. Look at Alvarez going to Atletico Madrid. I'm not saying that's the transfer for you, but Ivan Toney, for me, 70 million pounds, 250 grand a week. He wins you the league. I really do think he does.
Yeah, exactly that. And I do think it is a window of opportunity. I do think that, City are a fantastic team, as you well know, and all that. But it comes inside the players now, like De Bruyne can't get no better. Like, you know what I mean? He's fantastic footballer that he's been. You know, like Haaland obviously can, but there's certain, you know, Bernard Silva in his 30s now. You know, there's Walker. They're all still very good players, but you know what I'm saying, like, you know what I mean. So there's an opportunity just it may only be a year, it may only be 2 years. You know what I mean. Take the opportunity. Don't look back and go, oh, well, 2 years ago, if we'd have done this and done that, it's gone. And I think that Arsenal fans will be demanding of it. What I'm getting from it is a lot of, at the moment, waiting to see what happens. But I do think if we don't make the right moves in this transfer window, I think that there will be a lot of fans voicing their opinion. I don't know what it's like at Man City. All of the season tickets have gone up this season. Like, you know, they're asking us to get our money out and pay. But well, come on, you've got to do the same. You know, it's a two-way street now. Listen, Arsenal have done fantastically well getting all the fans on side. Don't blow it. Don't blow it by just not doing the right thing. We know at the end of the season, if you said to me, what do you need to beat Man City last season, at the end of that, walking away at the last game of the season, what do we need? We need a backup or someone to replace Thomas Partey and a gun, someone that's going to score goals. Here we are now, going into the season, both of those positions not been addressed, Buvey, and that's where the Arsenal fans are going to get a little bit frustrated.
Let's just talk about the transfer that you have made, well, the big one. Obviously, Calafiori. He's a centre-back playing at left-back, probably. I know Jurgen Timber's just coming back from kind of injury and getting into full fitness. I think he's a fantastic talent for Arsenal as well. What's that signing to do? Is that just to strengthen the squad? Does that make a massive difference to the amount of goals you concede in the league? Does he take you onto a whole different level defensively? Does he start? I'm hearing he's not.
Listen, I think it's a great question. Like, you know, I think that he's there to stifle up the defence, strengthen it squad wise and all that. I've got a little sneaky feeling that Tomiyasu is probably a little bit more injured than what they're making out at this stage. It seems to me like you know, he was doing that left back role last season and done it very, very well. Same sort of stature, can play centre half. You know, so that the thing when you're playing Zinchenko there, you will know this as well. That diagonal ball that goes across, he hasn't got the height to knock it out. Tomiyasu has, and I think that Calafiori has as well. Like, so, listen, Arsenal's strength last season was their defence. So you need to keep that going, and that's what I'm saying. You know, like, you know, get players in at your strongest. That's what we've done in the defence. Why haven't we done that in the midfield and up front, like, you know? But listen, he looks a very, very solid player. I don't think he'll start on Saturday. Even if he was ready, I think Zinchenko's been fantastic during the pre-season. So it'd be really interesting to see where he does play, if he's going to be coming as a cover for Gabriel, because, you know, another one, Gabriel was outstanding last season. But if you look at his minutes, a lot of games. So, but I think that what I've seen of him, he looks a player. I've got to say that. But if you'd have said to me at the beginning of this transfer window, where do you need to strengthen, the back would have been the last position. But here we are, like, you know, strengthening the back. So that's why I think if you're short of a little bit of money, why spend £40 million on a defender that I don't necessarily you need? But you know what I'm saying. It's not like a game changer. So that's where I think Arsenal fans would be a little bit annoyed if you say, well, we ain't got the money. Well, you could have done if you'd have not spent that money. I don't know. So, but it does look a good player, I have to say.
Do you think then, upon recording this video, final question then, can you surpass Man City if Man City are at our best and you're at your best? Can you get 6 points against City? Can you go to the Etihad and win? I think that's crucial. It's so symbolic. Yes, you got that deflected goal against City at the Emirates. You're making DVDs about it outside the stadium, I heard. That's just a rumour anyway. And you got a decent draw. It was a decent draw for Arsenal. But can you go to the Etihad and win? Can you stop Aston Villa scoring against you at the Emirates? Can you take this to a whole different level? And as we're upon recording this video, can you win the league title?
I do believe we can win the league title. I do think that. And listen, if you say to me now that we take we get 4 points off the City, whether that be 3 at home and one away, or 3 away and 1 at home, I'm going to bite your hand off for that. I think that
Oh no! You
that's
have to
pretty.
beat us. You have to
Yeah,
beat
yeah.
us.
Well, do you have to beat? Do you?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
I think you
I
do.
know what you're saying. Listen, I think psychologically, I think maybe not so much this time around because it's the beginning of the season, but I genuinely believe if we would have gone up there last season, I know it's hindsight and all that, and won that game, I do think that would have been the final. I think that would have been a good punch in the old goalies for you. But I don't think it's the be and end all of it. Like, you know what I mean? I don't lose the game.
Yeah.
I think, like, you might think I'm being negative here and all that. Like, I don't think, like, I've always been in the camp of, like, win your own games, draw against your rivals away from home. You know, but listen, it's been a long time since we won up there, so it'd be very, very nice to go there and get a result. But I'm going to say this now: if we do go up there and beat you in September, I don't think that would turn around everybody. I don't think the bookies and everybody turn around and say that's it. Arsenal going to win the league. I don't think it's defining at this moment in time. Maybe at the back end of the next season. Do you know when, like, we was going for the title last season? What you done to us in the 2 games? It was because of where it was. It was, I think, 3-1 at the Emirates. You know, that would be lovely. That time you beat us at the Emirates,
Yeah.
in the run in the year before,
Yeah.
that was a little reminder. You know, we're the big boys, we're the top dogs. You know, so I get what you're saying. And listen, I'd love to beat you up there. I really would. It's been a long time.
So, final prediction: will you come first, May 25th, 2025?
I'm going to say yes, and the reason I believe that Arsenal is, I just think there's a little bit more improvement from this Arsenal side. I really do. I think if you look at Martinelli, Saka, even Havertz, Odegaard, I think there's a little bit more to come from them. I don't know if City can carry on doing it. You know, listen, they've done it for 5 years, 6, 7, 8 years. You know what I mean? I don't think that this City team now is as good as what it was 2, 3 years ago when they was, you know, when Liverpool, I think, lost 1 game and you still done it. You know what I mean? That was an incredible Man City side. So there's a little bit of hope that you're not as good and we can improve. If we can just get over there, then it'd be a tough cause. And you know, I think without wishing any injuries on players, I think injury to certain players could be key in this title race as well.
I agree. Rodri's the big one. If we lose Rodri for 2-3 months, that is the title going to Emirates, no question. But it's a big if, isn't it? Same to Saliba at Arsenal, though, isn't it? You know,
Saliba's exactly the same with Saliba. Like I watch, you know, like I was on the tour in America, Buvey. Like, you know, we look vulnerable every single game. As soon as he comes back into the team, you know, Raya don't have hardly anything to do. And I think Rodri's in that same bracket for you. Like, you know, I think he missed a few games last season, didn't he? I remember when he was suspended ridiculously, and he gets. I don't think you won any of those games. So that's our. There are certain players that are important. He's certainly one for. In saying that, when he went out for Spain the other day, everybody thought England were going to win it, but they didn't. You know what I mean? So I don't think, you know, like City have got. I think they can replace everybody else. City. I don't think they can him. The same with us with Saliba. I think we could get away with every other player in the team, but Saliba is the key for us as Rodri is for you.
Yeah, that is very true, mate. Very interesting chat. Really enjoyed that. Where can people find you?
Obviously on all socials, Lee Mark Judges, Instagram and Twitter, and of course Lee Judges TV. If you ever want to give that a look, you know what I mean. That is it, and of course AFTV, but they're big enough as they are.